All right, boat lift sizing, that's a fun one. We obviously design hundreds of plan sets a year. Majority of them have boat lifts on them. So everybody asks, oh, I have this size boat, what size lift should I get? 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, whatever size lift it is. The number one thing you need to know is what's the wet weight of your boat. The wet weight of your boat's going to be your boat with engines, with fuel, with fresh water, with raw water, with ice, with beer, with fishing, tackle, gear, poles, spearfish, spear guns, etc., etc. So what is that weight going to be if your boat fully loaded down? Let's say that's 17,000 pounds. That's what a 36 yellowfin is, 17,000 pounds and change ready to fish. 17,000 pounds, I would recommend you don't do a 17,000 pound lift. If you do that, your motors are going to be the motors for the lift and the cables are going to be at max capacity all the time, which really wears out your lift and you're going to have increased maintenance costs and things like that. So if that was me, I would always like a factor of safety. I would go up to a 20K. Same thing applies if you got a 26,000 pound boat, do a 30,000 pound lift. The real kicker is when you're picking out this boat lift is you need to talk to your manufacturers, which we can help you out with, of course, but because you'll find that depending on the size change, there really may not be a price difference. Perfect example, let's say a 12 to a 15,000 pound lift, depending on the manufacturer, what motors and cables they use, you might find out that a 12 and 15,000 pound lift use the exact same motor. They just have different size cables or different size I-beams. So the motor cost, which is one of the biggest parts of the lift, most expensive parts of the lift, will be comparable price, or sorry, will be the same price because it's the same motor, but then you'll have just for the 15, you might have thicker cables, or you might have a little thicker gauge I-beam, or you might have bigger bunks, things like that. So the actual price difference will be very small because the installation is the exact same. You're just paying for a little bit more money in raw materials and you get a bigger lift. The biggest jump in lift sizes is always going to be when you go over 20K. The reason for that is because when you get over 20,000 pounds, you end up having to go from 2 vertical I-beams and 2, this is all as it relates to elevator lifts, by the way. You go from having 2 vertical I-beams and 2 motors to 4 I-beams and 4 motors. So your material costs are double, your installation costs are significantly more because they're installing 4 beams instead of 2. There's only one manufacturer I know of that will do a 25K lift with 2 I-beams. The rest are doing them on 4 I-beams. So if you can stay 20K or under, that's really going to be your best bang for the buck. Of course, if you're forced to go over 20K, then you got to do what you got to do, and you're going to have to go to a 4 rail. Permitting things, it doesn't really make a difference at all for that. It's just material cost at that point. So that's what I think about when I size lift. Size lifts, my first question always is, what's the wet weight of your boat? So figure that out first, and then you can kind of go from there. Then you can play with, okay, what size do I want to do, manufacturers, etc., etc.